relentlessly.
Yeah. we had a listener call and mention something that we wanted to touch on also. The fact that Van Halen, in their first album, they thanked Gene Simmons. And what kind of influence did he have on those guys? And the listener said he'd also heard rumors that there was going to be a combining of forces at some point in time. Was there any truth to that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Eddie Van Halen auditioned for Kiss, and Gene wanted him to be the guitarist in the band. Gene pretty much discovered him. Gene discovered Van Halen.
Okay.
And Eddie was unbelievable talent. But then the Gene, after a while, felt he wasn't the right guitarist. I mean, you could be the most phenomenal guitar player in the world and go into a band and it doesn't work.
Yeah. Right.
It's all a matter of chemistry. I mean, it's like the four Beatles. I mean, they're not individually, they're not the greatest musicians in the world. But you can't replace any member in that band to get the chemistry you got. The same thing goes with Kiss. I mean, they've had great drummers. Eric Carr was a phenomenal drummer. Eric Singer, phenomenal drummer. I mean, Peter can't shine their shoes when it comes to... I know I'm going to get a lot of hell for saying that, but Peter is not a technically on their level, but Peter is the chemistry of Kiss. He was it. He fit, you know, and you could take... I always had argument. You could take Buddy Rich, Carl Palmer, all these great, phenomenal drummers and stick them in Kiss, and it's not going to work. So they had Eddie Van Halen, and it didn't. I mean, he's phenomenal guitar player, but it changed the sound of Kiss totally. And I think Gene decided against it down the road.
When was that he auditioned for Kiss?
I think it was early '80s.
So maybe after David Lee Roth left, or
yeah, it was. Actually, when they were first, when Van Halen first came out, Gene wanted to get Eddie Van Halen and steal him away from the band.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that would have been a shame, I think.
Yeah, it would have been. I mean, Van Halen's a great band in its own right. They have the chemistry. Now, I mean, could you see Gene Simmons playing with Van Halen?
No, definitely not. Well, you know, and you also mentioned that Peter Criss not being technically up to snuff with some of the guys, he wasn't, in Ace's mind, up to snuff enough to join Frehley's Comet.
Yeah, that was a riff after, in the late 80s, when Ace was doing the Frehley's Comet stuff. I would constantly ask Ace, why don't you get Peter in the band? And call it My Ass, or or call it Sick.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
All the obvious corny names that you could have called it. And Ace would say, and at the time, Ace was working with Anton Fig, who's a phenomenal drummer. I know Anton, and he's a great guy
From the Letterman
and a
show.
great drummer. He works with the David Letterman band.
Right.
So he was working with Anton. He had Jamie Oldacre in there, who worked with Eric Clapton for 10 years. I mean, he had all these phenomenal drummers coming in and doing all the studio stuff. And he said, nah, Peter's not good enough. Peter's not good. And I was like, it doesn't matter. It's you know, that's the old chemistry. You got half the chemistry from Kiss.
Right.
And you could do something with it. And he fought me about it. And it did get back to Peter. And they kind of they were good friends, Ace and Peter, and they had a couple of years of a little falling out themselves.
What do you think the tour is like now for those guys? I mean, do you think they just go their separate ways until they absolutely have to be together?
I don't know. I mean, I hear third-hand stuff. So I pretty much the third-hand information I get is, you know, yeah, they're on their separate. I mean, in the beginning, it must have been. It's like a reunion with an old wife, right? It's great. You know, the whining and the dining and the re-romancing is great, but then after a week or two, it's the old habits come back.
Right. Well, yeah, the tiger can't change his stripes, as the old saying goes. Hey, you know, one of the things I want to touch on also, because we mentioned this, the Crazy Glue Room story. Now,
that was with Bob.
I was going to ask. Okay, that was during the heyday, then, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
That was the crazy years. You know, the Keith Moon antics, and you know, you had to keep up the reputation of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Bob was on the road with Ace, and they took this industrial 3M glue or something, and it was really like Gaffer's glue. It was like super crazy glue by the gallon,
right?
You know, and they took this glue and they glued all this cheap furniture in a hotel up onto the ceiling, and they made this like an anti-gravity room. They put all the furniture on the ceiling, and they were waiting for the maids to walk in just to see their face.
I mean, talk about needing something to do. I mean, that's incredible.
That's when you get bored on the road.
I guess.
And also, they made a cheap wine rack out of the wall.
Oh, boy.
You know, also, you mentioned the 3M company. That was where Gene Simmons gets his fake blood from, right?
Yeah, yeah. Everybody, it's funny. I hear all these rumors. Yeah, it's a mixture of tomato juice and eggs, and this. The fans would come up with these crazy concoctions and stuff like that. But the blood was bought from 3M by the gallons.
Right, and not real blood, obviously.
Yeah, and they had an incident where Ace and Bob stole the blood from Gene, and they went to a bar, and Bob put the blood packets in his mouth, and they performed a fake fight in the bar.
Right.
And Bob was spitting all the blood all over the place, and Ace was pounding on Bob, and all the patrons were freaking out. And there was just all crazy stuff that went on the road.
You know, I wish I had a dime for every time Bob in the book said, it was stupid, but I did it anyway.
Yeah. Well,
he
does have regrets on some of the things that went on with his life. I mean, one reviewer, nailed it when he said misspent youth with Ace Frehley, and that's what it pretty much was.
Yeah, that is really some funny stories.
You mentioned Sean Delaney before, off the air.
I think Sean Delaney is a guy who works with a band called I believe it's the Bellamy Brothers Band.
Bellinger Brothers, yeah.
Yeah, Bellinger Brothers Band.
He's a local guy, right?
Yes, he is, yeah.
He's here in Phoenix, yeah.
Yeah, we never met. I never met Sean, but I have to say that Sean was an integral part of their chemistry in the early years. He doesn't get credit as much as he deserves. People say it's the talent of the four guys in the band, but no, it's the people you surround yourself with. And it's like Bill O'Coin. He did a phenomenal job to get Kiss where they were, and Sean came up with their choreography, all the famous Kiss moves and things like that. So Sean had a lot of input, and he wrote Rocket Ride, I believe. I think he wrote a few songs.
Well, there's always a lot of people that go into making a band into a business enterprise, which is what Kiss is, no doubt about it now.
Mm-hmm.
No question about it.
It was an enterprise from the second album on. I mean, Bill had a vision and built that vision, and they had a common vision. And Gene, the chemistry was there. It was all fate, and it all fell into place. And you got Kiss, and there's millions of fans that appreciate it and love it.
And I'll tell you what, it makes a great book, too. It's called Kiss and Tell. Gordon Gebert and Bob McAdams are the authors. Hey, Gordon, thank you so much for taking the time with us this morning, man.
Fine. I thank you. Let me rattle off the website address.
Sure, go for it.
Catch it. The email address is kissbook@aol.com, kissbook@aol.com. And you can find it Barnes & Noble, Tower. You could probably order it if it's not on the shelf. And I thank you guys so much. I got to say hello to Laura in Tempe. You guys go to Tempe?
In Tempe, yeah, sure.
You reach there? Yeah, I have a friend, Laura, that's in Tempe that's working on a movie out there or something. So I got to say, do something silly and say hi to her over the air.
All right, man. Thanks a lot, Gordon.
See you, Gordon.
Thanks, guys.
Good luck, buddy.
You guys were wonderful,
Hey,
man.
thank you. It was fun.
Care.
Thanks.
Take care.
All right, that's Gordon Gebert.
Great.
That's an interesting book. If you need any of the info, you can certainly get it from us here at KDKB. Now, do we have somebody else coming through on the? Okay.